This is a no BS guide, so let's get right into it. Your display mode should be full screen to reduce any input lag. Your resolution should be the native resolution of your monitor. The target display is just a display that you want the game on. Moving down, vertical sync, you're going to want to make sure that you turn this off to reduce any input lag. Frame rate limit in match, you're going to want to set to the refresh rate of your monitor. If your refresh rate is 144, set it to 144. If it's 120, set it to 120. If it's 60, set it to 60. However, if you have like a 240 hertz monitor, you can just move this right up to unlimited because there's no option for 240. Frame rate limit outside of match, you can set to 60. This saves power and reduces heat when not in active gameplay. Now for graphics API, DirectX 12 you should use for recent cards, RTX 2000 series or newer, especially the 40th series. If you have an older card, test DirectX 11 as it might offer better performance. DirectX 12 is required if you do want to use Nvidia frame generation. You're going to apply these settings and then you're going to move to the graphics settings. Now for super resolution, if you have an RTX card 2000 series or higher, you're going to want to set this to DLSS and then quality. This is a good balance of performance and image clarity, and you can expect about a 10% FPS boost from this. If you're still struggling, you can move this down to balanced and it'll increase your FPS about 5% more, but it can be a bit blurry. Now, if you're on a non-RTX card 2000 series or higher, you should instead do FSR and then make sure that you're set to quality. I would recommend not going to balanced on FSR because it can be blurry. Expect around an 8 to 9% FPS boost with FSR quality. Now for frame generation, it's generally not recommended for Nvidia frame generation due to added input lag, especially for competitive games. However, if you're struggling for FPS, you can get significant boosts from turning frame generation on. Just beware that there will be input lag. Alright, rendering quality is very important. You're going to want to set this to low. You can gain a solid 20% FPS compared to ultra when it comes to rendering quality, and the game still looks good. If you really want the game to look a little better, you can set this to medium, but I would just keep it at low. For texture quality, this is dependent on the VRAM of your GPU. If you have 6 gigabytes or more of VRAM, you can do high. Otherwise, you should set this to low if you have below 6 gigabytes of VRAM. Depth of field, you're going to want to turn off. Interface soft lighting, you're going to want to turn off, and global illumination, you're going to want to turn off. Now, if your rendering quality is low, screen space, ambient occlusion, screen space reflection, and volumetric fog will automatically be disabled. However, if you have rendering quality on medium, you're still going to want to make sure that screen space ambient occlusion is off, screen space reflection is off, and volumetric fog is off. Scene interactions, you're going to want to turn off. Weather effects, you're going to want to make sure are set to low. This will increase your FPS about 5% and will increase clarity. Virtual geometry precision, medium is a good sweet spot for most players, offering a good balance between visuals and performance. You lose only about 1 to 2 FPS per bracket, so I would suggest keeping this on medium. Terrain precision, vegetation precision, you want to turn low. You can turn these on medium and it won't affect your FPS that much, so you can also set these to medium, but I would just suggest setting them to low. Special effects, you're going to set this to low. This will increase stabilization of your FPS and reduce any FPS stutters that you may have. Same thing with the special effects quality for others. For special effects precision, you're going to want to set to low. High quality hair will be set disabled by default if you're on rendering quality low, but if you're on rendering quality medium, you should set this to off. Stream texture quality, you're going to want to set this to standard. It's recommended as it's going to prevent you from stuttering more. Going down to motion blur, you're just going to want to turn all motion blur and radial blur intensity off for the best competitive settings. There'll be a written version of this guide on my website. If you appreciate the no BS guide, drop a like as it helps the channel. Again, these are the best settings for the max FPS and quality in MECHA BREAK. I'll see you guys later. Peace.